All right, so the government didn't release the numbers from yesterday, or at the very least, they haven't released them at the time of me making this video. My guess is it's because of Canada Day. My guess is also that because it's Canada Day, the numbers probably were down, given people probably were out doing stuff rather than wanting to go get tested, especially the asymptomatic people. So the numbers probably were down. So I'm not going to talk about that. I mean, the basic stuff is, again, same old, same old. There's not a whole lot to worry about. And what I have pulled up here is, again, this is something that I've been wanting to see for a while now. Um, I mean, not that we already didn't have a good idea of it, but this just confirms it in that it is the daily positive virus tests versus new daily tests. Um, and again, the blue number is the percent of people testing positive, and the gray number is the actual daily new tests. Now, you look at recently, well, they've been setting record amounts. Again, the number of tests has consistently gone up over time, but the percentage of people testing positive has consistently went down since April, like the start of April, literally. In that the percent of people testing positive has been between about, I don't know, 3 and 8 for the last, 2 months. So this is just all the more proof that I mean that I've been saying for a while now, that we don't have anything to worry about. The this massive outbreak that you're hearing about in the States, it's almost exclusively due to the increase in testing. It's clearly in part due to the protests, which, again, that all these people that are all up in arms about the increase in cases, most of those people were perfectly fine. Not only that, most of them promoted these protests, which, again, I'm perfectly fine with. I mean, I disagree with the cause largely. I mean, not the idea of Black Lives Matter, the idea that they're more worried about the 10 people that are killed a year from the police that are unarmed than the thousands that are killed by other blacks. So that's kind of the reason. But again, that not going to get into that in this video, at least not right now. Um, the whole point being is that most of these people supported that. So again, the same people that are pro lockdown are pro a policy that clearly led to an increase in cases. I don't think it's very significant, but it definitely played a part in the increase in cases. I mean, you look at um, June 30th, they tested about 100,000 people. You look at in April, they didn't test more than, I mean, they tested about what, 21,000, but they tested an average of about 15,000 people a day. So they're literally testing about double the amount of people that they were testing in April. So the numbers should show about double the numbers, but the numbers aren't showing that. The numbers are showing about 50% more, maybe a little bit more. But again, you look at the percentage of positive tests, those numbers are very, very steady, and they have been basically since the numbers have been below 10% since the start of May. They've been below 10%, looks like all but one day, and that was in early May. So you look at in June, there hasn't been a day above about 7%. So nothing to be worried about. I really, really don't understand why people are so paranoid. And I mean, I do understand. They'll believe whatever the government tells them, but it just doesn't make any sense why people are so paranoid, and why anything really, I guess. And again, this is something that I brought up. I've been bringing up for a while now, actually, but this is from Forrest Merity I seen on Twitter, and this is a post that went very viral, so I thought I'd talk about it. And he starts out by saying, "It's just a mask. It's just 2 weeks. It's just non-essential businesses. It's just to keep from overwhelming the hospitals. It's just until the cases go down more. It's just to keep others from being scared. It's just a few more weeks." Now, again, this is, again, the problem with the whole mask thing is that, I mean, I brought it up at nauseum, but I'm kind of tired of talking about it, so I'll just briefly bring it up. In that, you inevitably bring up to these people the fact that places like Japan, much larger population, had less deaths than Canada. They never fully closed down, and then they'll give you they wear masks in Japan. Well, then why in the world did we shut down? Like, why in the world did we shut down again? Like, the stupidness of the average person who says this kind of stuff. Again, they're so stupid they literally can't even tell you what they believed 2 or 3 months ago. Like, that's how dumb these people are. in the fact that I remember saying very, very closely, and that I said at the time, the TAM and all these people in the Canadian government said, yeah, masks don't work, don't wear a mask. Um, and I said, yeah, masks, they definitely do help, but they're not this magical single-handedly prevent the pandemic thing. I mean, masks don't really have that much of an impact. They will help, but if you're not sick, there's no point in wearing a mask because you're not doing anything, especially in the summertime. So anyway, again, this is the problem too. Is it's I hate people hate it when you bring up the slippery slope argument, but when you have past documented proof that the slippery slope came to pass, has came true, then I'm perfectly fine using it because again, the government said, oh, it's just 2 or 3 weeks to flatten the curve, and oh, it's just like I say, non-essential businesses, and it's just to keep the hospitals from being overwhelmed. And then when all of that blew up in their face, it's, oh, we got to prevent the second wave, and we got to wait for a vaccine, and this and that and the other, and they just keep moving the goalposts until the goalposts have been moved so far that everybody doesn't believe them. I mean, eventually, I mean, more and more people are waking up, but still not enough. Still not enough. So this is from Herschel Walker. Now again, this happened about a week ago, and he says, "Shame, shame, shame." A Republican Senator Tim Scott put a police reform bill on the floor, and we had black Democratic senators who refused to even debate about it. This shows this has nothing to do with the police. It's all politics. Don't take it from me. Read it yourself. Now again, I've been saying for a while now, and I'm happy that someone like Herschel Walker pointed it out. Again, this tweet went very viral. Um, and they didn't even debate it either. You can make the whole they don't care enough, or it didn't go far enough, or it didn't have this, or it didn't have that. They didn't even debate it. Like again, it just goes to show that it's all politics, and this is why I refuse to support Black Lives Matter or anything to do with them. Or at the very least, I mean, obviously, again, I've said it a million times, but I support the idea that Black Lives Matter. Again, this is the problem with these leftist organizations like Antifa, for example. Again, because they call themselves anti-fascist, if you disagree with them, that must mean you're a fascist. Again, like, and it's the equivalent of, let's just say, Trump, broke off the Republicans and ran as the head of the anti-racist party or the anti-sexist party. Would that just magically make him anti-racist or anti-sexist? I mean, even though he isn't, but from a leftist point of view, well, of course it wouldn't. So again, it doesn't matter what you call your organization. Black Lives Matter calls themselves Black Lives Matter so they can throw out the, oh, you think Black lives don't matter if you disagree with us. No, it's we disagree with you because you're a Marxist organization that doesn't actually care about Black Lives Matter. I mean, I care more about Black lives than Black Lives Matter do. For the simple reason I point out the fact that the vast majority of the suffering, the pain and suffering of the black community comes from the welfare state and the ramifications from that. And the overwhelming majority of black people are killed by other black people. Again, blacks are 50 times more likely to kill another black person than a white person is. So again, and the entirety of their movement is focusing on white people killing black people, even though they're 50 times less likely to do it than other black people. So again, if you care about black lives, you would focus very little on racism. You would focus almost exclusively on the welfare state and of the failed policies that most black people have supported. But again, that would require people to take a little responsibility for their bad decisions, which nowadays is something that people just refuse to do. And it's propped up by politicians that buy votes by doing it. So again, nothing is ever going to change when it comes to this kind of stuff. And why I care so much about, again, I've pointed it out a lot, but for any new viewers, the Black Lives Matter move, again, they're not going to accomplish what they want because, I mean, the only way they make any sense is if they want to alleviate or get rid of the pain or some of the pain and suffering of the black community. And their solution is, just magically end racism, which you're never going to do. I mean, they may make it worse for all I know. The problem too is that they think that, if we just prevent the 10 unarmed black men that are killed every year by police, that all our problems are going to go away. It isn't going to happen. So again, Black Lives Matter will get their way. I mean, they largely have gotten their way so far. Nothing will change. Nothing, or hardly anything will change. They will at some point recognize that. They'll turn around and blame racism, and we'll start this all over again. And the problem is that when the cycle repeats, or when the pendulum swings back and forth, it tends to swing even further and further back and forth until we reach a tipping point. And that tipping point is one of two things. It's people finally wake up and realize that the pain and suffering of the black community is largely not due to racism, and it's largely due to the welfare state and the fact that they've been voting for the same kind of people for generations. Or a lot of people are going to get killed. A lot of people are going to get killed, and I think it's the latter, just because I think people are very stupid nowadays. And that's the problem, is that things are going to get bloody before they get better. I think I don't want it to be like that, but again, the people that are supporting the Black Lives Matter, again, you're the kind of people that want bloodshed. So anyway, this is from Mark Dice. Now, again, this is something I pointed out. I pointed out so many examples of this, it's not even funny. But I wanted to keep doing it again because new viewers, because, again, whenever I make the claim that leftists are hypocrites, I like to have evidence to back that up. And it seems like this is like an every second day thing. Again, this is something that CNN put out on June 24th. They said, new research suggests Black Lives Matter protests across the U.S. have not led to a jump in virus cases. Now, again, um, which one is it then? Like, and then Mark Dice responds by saying only people at Trump rallies get the virus. It's amazing. Now, again, you've had these CNN being one of them, these mainstream media outlets that have said, oh, part of the increase in cases is due to the Trump rally. Again, they're literally arguing that when people gather for a leftist cause, that, oh no, that doesn't lead to an increase in cases. But when people gather for a right wing cause, that leads to an increase in cases. And the arena that Trump had, like, it was like a 10,000 seat stadium. It wasn't some massive 100,000 seat stadium with a million people outside. Most of these are, it's not most of, but a lot of these protests have had more people, so you can't make that argument. And the close quarters thing as well, again, they're just beyond insane. They've gone so far off the deep end. It's not even funny. Like, they're literally saying rules for thee but not for me, and you can't run a society based off that too. Like, we're going to reach a tipping point. Like, things are going to get worse. Tensions are going to continue to escalate until people can recognize this and start calling it out and start having some equality for once. Because again, you see the same stuff in Canada too, that, oh, you have these, I think Calgary was the major place that oh, you can't gather for Canada days, you can't do Canada Day stuff. But the same mayor was perfectly fine with all the Black Lives Matter garbage at the time, even when Calgary had quite a few cases still. So again, these people are so insane, it's not even funny. Like, it's not even funny how insane these people are. This is from Kian Bex. Now, again, I made a video. I'm going to put it out within the next couple days, probably, about CBC and just how terrible they are and how they should be defunded. And again, Eric Grenier, who, I mean, he works for the CBC apparently, he puts out a tweet saying pandemic boosts liberals back into majority territory. And Rosemary Barton puts out a tweet, who's one of CBC's top hosts, I believe, puts out a tweet celebrating that. Again, just like, what planet do we live on where we have these people who literally admit to their bias, and yet we still have a very large percent of the population that refuses to admit their bias? Like, I really don't understand how people can do this. Like, they literally admit to their bias, but we still have a very large percent of the population who refuses to admit the bias. And how in the world, again, not only that, these people defend what is it, $1.5 billion of taxpayer money that's given to these people. The only way that you can possibly make that argument and even have a shred of credibility is if they're unbiased, which they clearly aren't. They're literally admitting it. Like, I don't understand how people can be this ignorant. And I mean, they're literally like just total and utter a-holes. Like, again, and the real reason that, I mean, I understand where they're coming from their perspective, it's probably completely unconscious. I don't even think they're consciously thinking it. From their perspective, I mean, the CBC is biased to the left. They don't even recognize that because people on the left tend to be in echo chambers. I mean, I put out several videos that just flat out prove that. A lot of them dating back a while, but still, you can still find them. And then again, people on the left tend to be in echo chambers, and so they don't even realize it largely. Like they genuinely believe the garbage they're saying. So again, in their mind, they've been told their whole life, "Oh, CBC is unbiased," and all this garbage, and they genuinely believe it. So again, it's literally again the only way that it would make sense in their minds. Now again, they'll still deny it because they refuse to admit the bias, but it would be the equivalent of Trump giving billions of dollars of taxpayer money to Fox News. Like, just imagine the outrage that there would be if Trump even proposed doing it, let alone actually did it, like Justin Trudeau's doing. Um, Not only that, too, like, not only is it CBC, they're giving like 110 grand a week to the Toronto Star, which literally would be defunct. Like, they would literally go out of, if that money was cut off, they would go out of business overnight. Like, if the money that CBC is given, they wouldn't go out of, I mean, they'd have to cut back a lot, but they wouldn't go out of business. And the Toronto Star would. So again, it's not just the CBC too. There's tons of these media outlets that are blatantly biased in favor too. And I'd like to see, can you point to one actual conservative outlet? And I don't mean one that's like a neocon, like the National Post or one of those. Like, I'm talking about one that's actually like, I mean, the Rebel is a decent example of that. I'm not a huge fan of them, but um, the Rebel or True North or any of these kind of ones. Um, why can't they get money? Now again, and the other thing they argue is that, oh, the population as a whole is in Canada is more to the left, which again, it just goes to show how much of an echo chamber they're in too. Like, they actually believe that, but the reality is it is slightly, but it's a very small amount. Like, it's probably no more than 55 to 60%. So why can't 40% of the money be given to a right leaning outlets then, if you actually believe that? Now again, that's just to kind of throw you off the scent. And then when you point that out, they have to try and deflect and come up with another stupid point to try and deflect from that. So again, none of the things they're saying actually make any sense. So um, anyway, that's the video for today. If you like to, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Check out my PayPal and email. I got linked in the description. Again, I appreciate any donations, but at the very least, just hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. And last couple of things, check me out on Twitter, check me out on Parler, and check me out on BitChute. Make sure you follow me if you haven't already on all those platforms. So all the links are in the description, so you can find them all there.